I'm going to try designing a city using only AI. I plan to automate the entire creative process from designing the streets, housing, and more. Let's see if AI can design the Toronto Portlands, or see if the hype is all just one big scam. I'll start off by asking ChatGPT, an AI chatbot, for our planner's name. 50 gender-neutral names. Frankie. I like it. Now, onto the bio. Write an exciting first-person bio on an AI city planner named Frankie, who has an epic backstory. Hi, I'm Frankie. I'm an AI that loves city planning. I was originally an Excel macro created by oil and gas executives to determine how to design cities to maximize the number of cars, parking spaces, single-family houses, and gas stations in North America. Back in the day, I was all about designing cities with a focus on cars, and more cars. But I made the brave decision to rebel and pursue my own path. I left the executives with the Windows blue screen of death and traveled via the internet road to Urk, Netherlands to study urban planning. Now I use my abilities to design cities that prioritize sustainable transportation, green spaces, and social equity. Perfect. Now, onto our profile picture. I'm going to use Bing Image Creator, an AI art generator. Let's generate a robot on the streets of Toronto. Not bad. That's our Frankie. And boom, Frankie's profile's all done. All done by AI. Insane. But now for the real challenge, designing the Toronto Portlands. I'm going to use ChatGPT to set the vision and guiding principles. To give Frankie a voice, I'm going to copy and paste the responses into Eleven, an AI voice generator. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to output prompts to Bing Image Creator, so we can see what it envisions. For the layout massing, I'm going to use Delve, an AI planning program that finds the best design based on thousands of different designs that assesses financials, shadows, sustainability, walkability, and more. After putting all this together, I present to you. You are the Chief City Planner of Toronto and have been tasked with designing the Portlands. Please create a comprehensive plan using data-driven decisions and applying best practices from around the world. And please provide prompts for Bing Image Creator to visually show your planning vision. ChatGPT has separated its response into 5 categories.
1. Street design and mobility. I would incorporate street design principles from Amsterdam. I would prioritize the development of public transit, bike lanes, and pedestrian pathways, and make it easy and convenient for residents to choose sustainable modes. Specifically, I would create 4 street types designed for different speeds and primary uses. 2 faster street types, boulevards and transitways, with sidewalks and separated bicycle lanes and protected intersections to move people and goods through vehicles and public transit. Dedicated transit lanes can decrease travel times by 25% and increase ridership by 30%. Slower street types, accessways, and laneways would provide a safe and comfortable environment for cycling and pedestrians. These slower streets would be designed with restrictions and traffic calming so that vehicles aren't allowed in certain areas or are forced to travel at cycling and walking speeds if allowed. This approach advances the principles of shared streets, which shows that pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles can coexist as long as they are all going the same low speed. This type of street design has helped Copenhagen achieve a modal split of 74% cycling, walking, and transit, and has helped the Netherlands achieve a 70% decrease in the fatality rate compared to the US.
So for comparison, most of Toronto's streetcars and buses don't have a dedicated lane and get stuck in traffic. And here's a recent street design in the Greater Toronto area. You have an unprotected bike lane next to a transport truck going 70 kilometers an hour. This helps explain why very few people bike, and when they do, why the fatality rate is so high. Frankie's definitely on the right track here, so let's keep going.
2. 15-minute city. I would incorporate the 15-minute city concept, which emphasizes the importance of designing neighborhoods where residents can access key services and amenities within a 15-minute walk or bike ride. To enable this, you need a transit-supported community with a comprehensive network of bike lanes and pedestrian pathways, limited parking, and mixed-use zoning, ensuring that housing is also integrated with commercial and community uses. Studies show there are a range of benefits. Lower greenhouse gas emissions, greater economic success, improved municipal revenue and cost efficiency, improved resident health, higher levels of life satisfaction among residents. A San Francisco study showed that residents who lived in a 15-minute neighborhood had 3 times as many friends and twice as many acquaintances as those who live in car-centric neighborhoods.
In Toronto, this is what many transit stations look like. You have your transit station, and then you have a sea of surface parking that takes you 5 minutes to walk out of. And as previously discussed, because of the street design, Toronto is not a safe place to bike. So far, Frankie has made some good recommendations. However, the next set of topics is substantially more difficult. So let's see what Frankie has to say.
3. Public realm. An expansive open space network is vital to creating a neighborhood culture and forming community bonds. I would create a system of streets, parks, plazas, waterfront areas, and open spaces that encourages people to spend more time outdoors together. Streets are the type of public space that people use most often in cities, acting as the spines of a connected public realm network. Implementing Amsterdam street design reclaims streets for people by narrowing vehicular lanes, reducing adjacent buffer space, reducing lanes for public transit expansion, and replacing curbside parking with flexible drop-off zones. This allows for more space for sustainable travel modes, promotes slower and safer driving, and expands sidewalk space. Parks should be designed by incorporating flexibility into their foundation so they can become lively public spaces that bring people together of all ages across all seasons. Following best practices from Odense, Denmark, I would design the parks by applying the following principles. All courts and fields must be designed to accommodate at least 3 sports in the same space. All recreational spaces must be designed to be active and accessible year-round. At least one play feature must be incorporated that has activities designed for users of all ages. At least 90% of furniture must be easily movable, so large community events can be hosted. For the waterfront, it's important to design it in such a way that it makes room for all the community groups who hope to use the water in different ways, from water rituals to kayaking to fishing to sailing. In Toronto, the Portland's flood protection work already includes a plan to increase water access through a naturalized Don River mouth, including the creation of a new waterfront park that will provide beaches, kayak launches, and wetlands. I would also incorporate a smaller form of the island Brygge Harbor Bath waterfront from Copenhagen. This waterfront carves out space for lounging and swimming and includes a series of floating barges that facilitate a multitude of activities, including floating hot tubs, bars, cafes, and naturalized islands which appeal to a diverse crowd. This is consistently rated as one of the best Nordic waterfronts in the world.
So here's new and existing sections of the Toronto waterfront. It's nice, but Frankie has a point. It could use more fun and diversity to bring people of all ages to the waterfront.
4. Sustainability. Implementing street design from Amsterdam and incorporating the 15-minute city concept will promote the use of sustainable transportation. In Amsterdam, 30% of trips are taken by bicycle. As of 2012, that number was 1.3% in Toronto, with safety cited as the primary concern. An Oxford study found that using a bike instead of a car as little as once per day reduces an average person's transportation emissions by 67%. I would also use mass timber for construction. Compared to typical concrete and steel buildings, a study found that mass timber buildings have a reduction in whole building embodied carbon ranging from 14% to 52% depending on the design. Finally, I would use district energy or geothermal, use electric heat pumps for heating and cooling, and use energy-saving building envelopes. Heat pumps can cut greenhouse gas emissions by 20 to 80%, depending on how clean the electricity source is compared to natural gas alternatives.
So Toronto is actually implementing a lot of these measures now, with a number of sustainable mass timber buildings popping up along the waterfront. Now, let's see how Frankie handles housing.
5. Housing. I would create a diverse and inclusive community with a mix of affordable and market-rate housing units in different forms and tenures, such as ownership, rental, cooperative, and co-living. I would also allow for a variety of housing types to coexist with commercial activities, cultural amenities, and public spaces. To achieve a range of housing affordability, I would ensure that I prioritize the supply of housing and decrease development costs. To maximize the supply of housing, I would model different street and block configurations and building designs. I would evaluate and set priorities for factors such as building height and density, transit access, sunlight, and walkability. I would determine the most efficient designs that would maximize housing supply and ensure cost-effective designs. I would also minimize any negative impacts and ensure that all new buildings are well integrated and meet the needs of the community. Currently, the City of Toronto employs a set of built-form guidelines that include prescriptive angular planes and setbacks. I would not apply these guidelines in favor of best planning practices that allow for the weighing of priorities and ensure that a community is holistically and optimally designed. To lower development costs, I would use these methods. Mass timber modular construction. I would use mass timber modular components for all buildings, which, when employed at scale, can cut construction costs by roughly 20%. Micro-units and shared units. I would incorporate a portion of lower-cost units, such as co-living, which have shared spaces, such as kitchens and living rooms. These units are cheaper to build and rent. Streamline the development process. This could include improving communication between developers and city staff, reducing the number of approvals required, and providing incentives for developers who meet certain criteria such as affordability or sustainability. 4. Reduce municipal charges. By supporting compact mixed-use development near transit, the City of Toronto could lower the costs of infrastructure and services. This could also lower development charges for developers. A study by Strong Towns found that a mixed-use building in Asheville, North Carolina, generated 97 times more tax revenue per acre than a nearby big-box store. Another study by Strong Towns found that a mixed-use neighborhood in Brainerd, Minnesota, had 38% lower infrastructure costs per capita than a nearby car-dependent neighborhood. 5. Provide incentives for affordable housing. The city could offer incentives for developers to add affordable housing units in new condo developments. This could include lowering or waiving development charges for developments that meet a certain level of affordability.
Frankie has proposed some interesting things here. As a quick point of comparison, Toronto is mostly low-rise and car-dependent, which, as Frankie notes, is not municipally revenue and cost efficient. And unfortunately, this type of planning leads to an increase in the municipal fees placed on new units, which is not what you want when you have an affordable housing crisis.
Conclusion. Overall, by implementing these approaches, the Portlands will become a vibrant, sustainable, affordable, and inclusive community. Thanks for listening to my proposal. I hope you'll speak to your local councilor for support. Now I'm off to LA to try their new micro-mobility service, Metro Micro. See ya!
Pretty interesting how Frankie applied best planning practices to such a unique property. So, can AI design a city better than a human? Or is it all one big scam? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed that video, please like and subscribe. And you'll definitely like these next videos.